Okay, Action Comic Books number 9 on day 9. These won't line up as soon as we start getting into the Superman comics. Wanted Superman follows the events of the last Action Comics story where Superman decided to end youth crime by destroying the slums for some reason. Sees Superman wanted for that crime. Yeah, he should be wanted. Send him to jail. That was a ridiculous thing to do. He didn't think it through. Watch that video to understand why I'm yelling. So the police chief is holding a press conference making this announcement. He also says pretty much everyone in that room agrees with what Superman did, but it was illegal, so we have to arrest him. These people are crazy. Nothing about that would have solved the situation. Watch the last video to understand. To bring Superman to justice, they have called a detective nicknamed 100% Reilly because every single one of his cases gets closed. He is yet to fail. This reminds me of the Doctor Who joke where he meets a Sontaran whose nickname is the Undefeated, and he said, "That's not a great name. What happens if you do get defeated? Will it be nearly undefeated, but not quite?" So yeah, we're setting up this nickname to be destroyed. 100% Reilly from Chicago is a pompous windbag. That becomes very clear as soon as he walks in, and Clark even says something to that extent. Reilly gets into his face, Clark has to cower because that's his role as Clark. Doesn't get into fights. Back at the Daily Planet, the photographer who is with Clark tells Lois the entire story. This is all just a chance for Lois to complain at Clark for not standing up for himself, which is like 80% of her conversations with Clark. 100% Reilly's main plan, and seems to be his always plan, is to offer a reward for the capture of Superman. And then when somebody calls it in, he goes and captures the criminal, taking the full reward. So yeah, he's a jerk. Pompous windbag. Perfectly describes him. Just out of curiosity, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, $5,000 is about $90,000 in today's money. So yeah, that's a hell of a reward for catching Superman. Actually, if I was going about capturing Superman, I want a couple million, maybe 100 million. Probably going to cost that at least to find some kryptonite. Yeah, that can't come cheap. Just so happens, right after this announcement is made, a patient at the local mental institution is standing on a ledge threatening to jump. So Superman has to jump into action. As Clark runs into an alleyway, he takes off all his clothes, exposing that he is Superman. You know, bright blue costume, red cape. Might be a yellow cape, depending on what image I'm using here. Colorist, what are you going to do? And flies off to go save the man. Well, a man by the name of Mortimer Snoop, who looks and dresses a lot like the photographer who was at the press conference with Clark, but I don't think he is the same person. I've looked this over 2 or 3 times now. I'm still kind of confused if he's meant to be that person or not. The art's not clear. He's definitely not talked about like he's the photographer from that comic. He's just read about the reward. He's seen Clark run down the alley, but has seen Superman fly out. He doesn't know who Clark is, so maybe he isn't the photographer. He puts together that that guy had to be Superman and that his clothes are still there. So he calls 100% Reilly, and 100% Reilly appears, and they stand there waiting for Superman to return to retrieve his clothes. Snoop won't leave because he doesn't trust Reilly to pay him the money. Fair. Reilly has no plans to give him the money. Superman does return, but he returns from the rooftop seeing these 2 men waiting, so he just stands there and waits for them to leave. Eventually, both men become very suspicious at each other and try to leave and then come right back, thinking the other one was going to leave for good. This plan doesn't work and they both run back, only to find the clothes are gone. Snoop kept one piece of evidence to himself, an invitation to a fancy party that night, so he knows that Superman's going to show up there. He goes to the fancy party, but without an invitation, the butler won't let him in. He tries to call the society editor at the Daily Star, not Planet yet, but Lois picks up. Lois rushes right over there. She does in fact have an invitation. But because she's trying to protect and warn Superman, she tells the butler to throw him out, which he does. She goes and warns Clark, not knowing who exactly to warn, but knowing that Superman is in this room. So Clark is now warned that this is about to happen. Snoop is left with no other options but to call 100% Reilly. They show up, push their way in, and they start asking men to take off their clothes. No one really puts up a fight against this. As it comes to Clark's turn, Snoop demands some satisfaction regarding the reward, but Reilly pretty much tells him that's not going to happen. Snoop, as an FU to 100% Reilly, turns off the lights, and when they turn back on, Superman's there. Both men try to tackle Superman at the same time and just run their heads directly into him. So it's pretty clear neither one of these men have ever played football because they did not learn how to properly tackle. You don't slam your head into the body. This is kind of like a big thing in the first episode of Friday Night Lights. You got to be careful with the head and neck. So they're knocked unconscious. And with that done, we see a newspaper headline saying that 99% Reilly has returned to Chicago. And I don't think there's any other references that Superman is actually wanted by the cops. So yeah, that was Action Comics number 9, Wanted Superman. Not as fun to talk about as yesterday's issue, but we're coming up to one, I promise. And we are quickly coming up to Superman comics, which I both look forward to and dread, because these videos are about to get about 4 times longer. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to know the latest updates on the videos. I, of course, have a blog where I'm doing this as well. You can read ahead of time. The reviews are different. That's supermancomicaday.com. And I'll see you guys tomorrow as we talk about Action Comics number 10.